The divorce papers hit the kitchen table with a sound that shattered Jenny's world more violently than any scream could have. "Sign it." Her husband of 20 years, Robert, stood over her with eyes colder than winter concrete, his expensive suit sharp enough to cut through what remained of her dignity. "I'm done being married to a breeding machine." Jenny's hands trembled as she stared at the papers, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall in front of him. Around her, the sounds of their home buzzed with life. 18 children, 18 beautiful souls that she'd carried, birthed and raised while Robert climbed corporate ladders and forgot what love meant. The youngest twins were only 8 months old, still nursing. The oldest, Sarah, was 19 and in college. "You can't be serious," Jenny whispered, her voice barely holding together. "Robert, these are your children." He laughed, but there was no humor in it, only poison. "My children? Jenny, look at yourself. You're 42 years old and you look 60. Your body's destroyed. You gave me 18 reasons to leave, and I'm taking every single one of them as my exit ticket. I've met someone else, someone young, someone whose body doesn't look like a war zone." The words landed like physical blows. Jenny looked down at her hands, worn and calloused from 2 decades of endless cooking, cleaning, homework help, doctor visits, and sleepless nights. She'd given everything to this family, everything. Her youth, her dreams, her body, her identity. She'd been pregnant or nursing for nearly 2 decades straight. Before you judge what happens next, hit that subscribe button because this story's about to take a turn nobody saw coming. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and smash that like button if you believe karma is real. "The house is being sold," Robert continued, straightening his tie with the casual cruelty of a man who'd already moved on mentally. "You have 60 days to find somewhere else to live. I'll pay child support as required by law, but don't expect anything extra. You should have thought about your future before you decided to have a small army of kids." "We decided," Jenny said, her voice gaining strength from somewhere deep inside. "Every single one of those children was a decision we made together. You were there, Robert. You were happy. You said you wanted a big family." "I was young and stupid," he shot back. "I didn't know I was signing up for a lifetime sentence. Goodbye, Jenny. My lawyer will be in touch." He walked out, just like that. 20 years, 18 children, and he walked out like he was leaving a bad restaurant. Jenny sat in the sudden silence, surrounded by the chaos of a home full of life. Toys scattered across the floor, school backpacks piled by the door, the smell of dinner still cooking on the stove. Somewhere upstairs, the baby was crying. Someone else was arguing about video game time. Normal, beautiful chaos, and she was about to lose all of it. The next morning, Jenny stood in the bedroom she'd shared with Robert for 2 decades, staring at the space where his things used to be. He'd cleaned out his belongings during the night, probably while she was finally sleeping after hours of silent crying. Even his smell was gone from the room. Her phone buzzed, a text from her mother. "Heard about Robert. I warned you that having so many children was a mistake. No man wants to deal with that kind of burden. You made your bed, now lie in it." Jenny deleted the message without responding. Her family had never understood. They'd called her irresponsible, reckless, stupid for having so many kids. They'd stopped coming to birthdays after child number 7. She'd been alone in this for years, even before Robert left. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Robert was right about one thing. She did look older than her years. Her hair, once thick and shiny, was thin and gray in places. Her face was lined with exhaustion. Her body bore the marks of 18 pregnancies, stretch marks like battle scars across skin that would never bounce back. But her eyes still had fire in them. "Mom?" Sarah appeared in the doorway, her face streaked with tears. At 19, she looked heartbroken and furious at the same time. "Dad really left? For real?" Jenny nodded, not trusting her voice. "He's a monster," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "How could he do this to you? To us?" "We'll be okay," Jenny said, though she had no idea how. "We always figure it out." But the next 60 days proved her wrong in ways that crushed her soul piece by piece. The house sold in 3 weeks to a cash buyer who wanted them out immediately. Jenny searched desperately for a place that could fit 19 people. But every landlord took one look at the family size and shook their heads. Too many people. Too much liability. Too much noise. I have 6 bedrooms available across 3 apartments in the same building, one landlord said, his tone pitying but firm. But I can't rent to you. The other tenants would complain. I'm sorry. Child support payments from Robert came late and were barely enough to cover groceries for a family their size. His fancy lawyer had somehow gotten the amount reduced to almost nothing, arguing that Jenny should get a job to support herself. A job. Jenny hadn't worked outside the home in 20 years. She'd been raising humans. But employers didn't see that as real experience. Application after application came back rejected. No recent work history, no marketable skills, too old. Too many gaps in her resume. Her savings, the small amount she'd squirreled away over the years, evaporated in weeks. Moving costs. Deposits that landlords kept when they found out about the family size. Food, diapers, school supplies. The money vanished like water through her fingers. 3 weeks before they had to be out of the house, Jenny sat in her van, the one with 200,000 miles on it and a broken air conditioner, and let herself cry. Really cry. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere so deep it feels like your soul is breaking. She was going to be homeless with 18 children. The thought was so impossible, so horrifying, that her mind couldn't fully process it. Where would they go? Shelters couldn't accommodate families this large. They'd be split up, sent to different facilities. The state might even take some of the younger ones, put them in foster care. No, she whispered to herself, wiping her eyes roughly. No. I didn't survive 18 pregnancies, 20 years of marriage to a man who stopped seeing me as human, and a lifetime of people telling me I was wrong, just to give up now. She started the van and drove to the one place she swore she'd never go. The warehouse district on the east side of the city wasn't somewhere people like Jenny usually ventured. Abandoned buildings crouched between operational ones like broken teeth in a mouthful of industrial rot. But tucked between a shipping company and a closed factory was a small storefront with a simple sign that read, Phoenix Rising Employment Services. Jenny had heard about this place in whispers at the food bank she'd started visiting. Women talked about it in quiet voices, sharing the information like a secret password. They said a woman named Victoria ran it. They said Victoria helped women who had nowhere else to turn. They said she had connections to resources that seemed impossible. They also said Victoria had connections to something darker, something dangerous. But Jenny was desperate enough not to care. The office was surprisingly clean and professional inside, with plants in the windows and comfortable chairs in the waiting area. A young receptionist looked up with a warm smile. I need to speak with Victoria, Jenny said, her voice steadier than she felt. Please, I was told she helps women in impossible situations. The receptionist's smile dimmed slightly with understanding. Do you have an appointment? No, but I'm about to be homeless with 18 children in 3 weeks. If that doesn't qualify as impossible, I don't know what does. Something flickered in the receptionist's eyes. She picked up the phone, spoke quietly for a moment, then nodded. Third door on the left. Victoria will see you now. Victoria's office was nothing like Jenny expected. Instead of cold and intimidating, it felt warm. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with everything from business manuals to poetry collections. A large window overlooked a small garden area that someone clearly maintained with care, and Victoria herself was breathtaking. She stood as Jenny entered, and Jenny found herself staring at a woman who radiated power like heat from a furnace. Tall, with dark hair pulled back in an elegant twist, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Jenny's van. But it was her eyes that caught Jenny, sharp, intelligent, and filled with an understanding that seemed to see straight through to your bones. Sit, Victoria said, her voice rich and commanding, but not unkind. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Tell me everything. So Jenny did. She told this stranger everything she'd been holding inside. The marriage, the children, the divorce, the impossible housing search, the dwindling money, the terror that kept her awake at night, imagining her babies scattered across different shelters, crying for her. Victoria listened without interrupting, her expression neutral but her eyes sharp and focused. When Jenny finally ran out of words, Victoria leaned back in her chair and steepled her fingers. Your husband, Victoria said slowly, is Robert Chambers, works as CFO for Stellar Financial Group. Jenny blinked. Yes. How did you know? A small, dangerous smile played at the corners of Victoria's lips. I make it my business to know things, especially about men who destroy women and think they can walk away clean. She leaned forward. Jenny, I'm going to be very direct with you. I can help you. I can help you in ways that will seem impossible. But you need to understand that the help I offer comes with questions you might not want the answers to. I don't care, Jenny said immediately. I need my children safe. I need a roof over their heads. Whatever it takes. Victoria studied her for a long moment. I own properties throughout the city. I have a building in the Riverside district near good schools with a 10-bedroom house that's been sitting empty. You and your children can live there. Rent-free for the first year while you get on your feet. Jenny's heart stopped. That's not possible. Why would you do that? Because I was you once, Victoria said quietly. Different circumstances, same desperation. Someone helped me when I had nothing. Now I help others. She paused. And because your ex-husband's company is currently under investigation for financial crimes that I have considerable evidence of, evidence that could put him in prison for a very long time. The air in the room seemed to shift. I don't understand, Jenny whispered. You don't need to. All you need to know is that housing is yours. I'll also arrange employment for you. Several of my businesses need managers, and I believe you have exactly the skills I'm looking for. Raising 18 humans successfully requires organization, crisis management, budget mastery, and the ability to multitask at an expert level. Those are incredibly valuable skills. Jenny felt tears streaming down her face again, but these were different. These tears tasted like hope. Why are you doing this? Victoria's expression softened slightly. Because women like us, Jenny, we're survivors, and survivors help each other rise. She pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. Keys are inside, address, school information for the kids, and employment paperwork. You start Monday. Salary is $65,000 to start, with benefits and performance bonuses. Jenny stared at the folder like it might disappear if she touched it. I don't know what to say. Say you'll never let anyone make you feel worthless again, Victoria said firmly. Say you'll teach your daughters that their worth isn't in their bodies or their ability to please men. Say you'll teach your sons that real strength is in protecting, not destroying. Say that you'll survive and then thrive. If this story is hitting you in the heart, show some love with a like. Comment below and tell me what you think Jenny should do next. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This story gets even crazier. Hit that subscribe button now. The house Victoria provided wasn't just a house, it was a home. Set back from the street with a big yard that the kids immediately claimed for epic games of tag, the 10-bedroom house was more space than Jenny had ever dreamed of. Each child got their own room except the youngest twins who shared. There was a massive kitchen with enough counter space that Jenny could actually cook without playing Tetris with ingredients. A living room big enough for everyone to gather together. Bathrooms that didn't require a wait list. This is really ours, 12-year-old Jake asked, his eyes wide as he explored the room that would be his. For real? For real, Jenny said, her voice thick with emotion. This is our home now. That night, after getting everyone settled and enduring the chaos of bedtime with 18 kids in a new place, Jenny stood on the back porch and let herself breathe. Really breathe. For the first time in months. Her phone buzzed. Robert. Heard you found a place. Good. Don't ask me for anything extra because the answer is no. I'm getting remarried next month. Jenny stared at the message, waiting for the pain. Waiting for the anger. But all she felt was a distant sort of pity. He was marrying someone new while his children slept in a home, provided by a stranger's kindness, because he'd thrown them away. She deleted the message and blocked his number. He could communicate through lawyers from now on. Monday morning, Jenny started work at Phoenix Rising, which turned out to be a cover name for something much larger. Victoria ran a network of businesses throughout the city, legitimate operations that employed hundreds of people. But Jenny quickly realized that Victoria was connected to something deeper, something that operated in shadows. She didn't ask questions. She didn't want to know. All she knew was that Victoria treated her employees well, paid them fairly, and seemed to have an uncanny ability to know things about people that helped her help them better. "You're good at this," Victoria said one afternoon, 3 months into Jenny's employment. They were reviewing hiring applications in Victoria's main office, a penthouse suite in a downtown building that screamed money and power. "You have instincts for reading people. It's a rare gift." 20 years of parenting, 18 kids, Jenny said with a slight smile. "You learn to spot lies, manipulation, and genuine need pretty fast when you're raising that many humans." Victoria laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "I imagine so." She paused, seeming to consider something. "Jenny, how would you feel about expanding your role? I need someone I trust to help manage my more sensitive operations. Someone with discretion." "What kind of operations?" Jenny asked carefully. "The kind that help women escape dangerous situations. The kind that make sure abusive men face consequences when the legal system fails. The kind that exist in gray areas because the world isn't black and white." Victoria's eyes were steady on hers. "I won't lie to you. It's not always clean work, but it's necessary work." Jenny thought about her children, sleeping safe in a house that shouldn't exist, according to any logic. She thought about Robert, walking away without consequences while she'd almost lost everything. She thought about all the women she'd met at the food bank, the shelter she'd called, the landlord's offices, women with bruises they tried to hide, women with dead eyes and forced smiles. "Tell me what you need me to do," Jenny said. Victoria smiled, and it was the smile of a woman who'd just gained a powerful ally. "First, let's talk about your ex-husband." The evidence Victoria had compiled against Robert and Stellar Financial Group was damning. Fraud, embezzlement, money laundering through shell companies. For years, Robert had been stealing from clients, cooking books, and hiding money in offshore accounts. "How did you get all this?" Jenny asked, staring at the folders spread across Victoria's desk. "I have resources," Victoria said simply. "People who owe me favors. People who are very good at finding information that others want to hide." She leaned back in her chair. "The question is, what do you want to do with it?" "What do you mean?" "I can make this disappear. I can let him continue his life, marry his new young bride, and face no consequences. Or," Victoria's smile turned sharp, "I can make sure the authorities receive everything. He'll go to prison, Jenny, for a long time." Jenny thought about her children, about the child support that barely came, about the way Robert had looked at her with disgust, called her a breeding machine, destroyed 20 years like it meant nothing. "Send it," she said quietly. "All of it. Send everything." "Are you sure?" "The kids will know their father's in prison." "Better they know their father is in prison for his crimes than grow up thinking it's okay to treat people as disposable," Jenny said firmly. "Better they learn that actions have consequences." Victoria nodded slowly, respect clear in her eyes. "It'll be done by tomorrow." And it was. The news broke across every major outlet. CFO of major financial firm arrested in massive fraud scheme. Clients lost millions. Federal investigation. Prison time likely. Robert called her from jail, his voice no longer cold and cruel but desperate and pleading. "Jenny, you have to help me. I know you're involved somehow. Make this go away, please. I'll do anything." "No," Jenny said simply. "You made your choice. Now live with it." She hung up and blocked that number too. 6 months passed. Jenny's children thrived in their new home. Sarah got a scholarship to finish college. The younger kids were doing better in school, no longer stressed and anxious about where they'd live. The twins learned to walk in a living room big enough for them to explore safely, and Jenny thrived too. Working with Victoria opened up a world she'd never known existed. She helped coordinate safe houses for abused women. She worked with Victoria's team to gather evidence against dangerous men. She learned how to navigate systems that were designed to fail women and how to break those systems when necessary. "You're a natural," Victoria told her one evening. They were having dinner in Victoria's penthouse, discussing a particularly difficult case. "You care deeply, but you think strategically. It's a rare combination." "I had good practice," Jenny said with a slight smile. "Try managing 18 kids' schedules, needs, and emotions simultaneously while on no sleep and a tight budget. After that, everything else seems easy." Victoria laughed, then grew serious. "I want to offer you something, a full partnership in Phoenix Rising, equal stake, equal say in operations. You've proven yourself invaluable, Jenny, not just as an employee, but as someone who shares my vision for what we're building here. Jenny stared at her, shocked. Victoria, I don't have money to invest in a partnership. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for your continued dedication, your instincts, and your humanity. Those are worth more than cash. Victoria poured them both wine. Think about it. No pressure. But I believe we could do incredible things together. That night, Jenny stood in her backyard and looked up at the stars. A year ago, she'd been broken, desperate, convinced her life was over. Now she was being offered a partnership in something that mattered, something that helped people who had nowhere else to turn. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Mrs. Chambers? A woman's voice, young and shaky. My name is Ashley. I'm married to Robert Chambers. Or I was supposed to marry him before he went to prison. A pause. I'm pregnant, and I just found out he has 18 other children he never told me about. Jenny's heart stopped. Ashley, are you okay? No, the girl said, and she was a girl. Jenny could hear it in her voice. Probably early 20s at most. I'm so stupid. I believed everything he told me. He said you were crazy, that you trapped him with kids, that you ruined his life. But then I found the court documents and I read everything, and oh God, he destroyed you. He didn't destroy me, Jenny said quietly. He tried, but I'm still standing. Ashley started crying. I don't know what to do. I don't have anywhere to go. My family disowned me when I started dating a married man. I have $300 and a car that barely runs. I'm 8 weeks pregnant and I'm so scared. Jenny closed her eyes and thought about karma, about cycles, about the choice between bitterness and grace. Ashley, I'm going to give you an address. Can you write it down? She gave the girl Victoria's office address and told her to ask for Jenny specifically. Why are you helping me? Ashley whispered. I'm the woman your husband left you for. No, Jenny said gently. You're a scared young woman who got manipulated by a man who's good at destroying people. That's not your fault. Come to the address tomorrow. We'll figure this out together. When she hung up, Victoria was standing in the doorway. She'd let herself in with the spare key Jenny had given her months ago for emergencies. I heard, Victoria said quietly. You're a better woman than most, Jenny. I'm just someone who remembers what desperation feels like, Jenny replied, and who refuses to let that cycle continue. Victoria smiled, and it was warm and proud. This is why I offered you the partnership. This right here. Your heart is as strategic as your mind. Ashley showed up the next day, looking exactly like Jenny expected. Young, beautiful in that fresh-faced way that wouldn't last if life got hard, and utterly terrified. Her belly wasn't showing yet, but her eyes held the fear of someone who just realized they were in over their head. Jenny made her tea and listened to her story. It was painfully predictable. Robert had lied about everything, told Ashley that Jenny was abusive, that he'd escaped a terrible marriage, that his children didn't want anything to do with him because Jenny had poisoned them against him. He'd love-bombed Ashley, made her feel special, promised her the world. Then he got arrested, and suddenly Ashley realized she didn't know this man at all. I don't know if I can keep the baby, Ashley said quietly, her hands wrapped around the tea mug. I don't have resources to raise a child alone. Whatever you decide, we'll support you, Jenny said firmly. If you choose to continue the pregnancy, we have resources to help. If you choose differently, we have resources for that too. This is your decision, Ashley, not Robert's, not anyone else's. Yours. Ashley started crying again, but these tears seemed different, relieved. Everyone else has been yelling at me, telling me what I should do. You're the first person who's just listened. Jenny reached across the table and took the girl's hand. I know what it's like to feel like you have no choices. I won't do that to someone else. Don't stop now because the biggest twist is coming. Hit that like button if you're feeling this story. Drop a comment and tell me if Jenny is making the right choice helping Ashley. And make sure you're subscribed because you won't believe what happens next. Click that subscribe button right now. Ashley decided to keep the baby. Jenny helped her find an apartment, got her enrolled in job training programs through Phoenix Rising, and made sure she had prenatal care. She didn't do it for Robert. She did it because bringing another child into the world, even one connected to her ex-husband, wasn't that child's fault. Her own children had mixed reactions. "You're helping the woman Dad cheated with," Sarah demanded, her voice sharp with betrayal. "Mom, how can you do that?" "Because she's a victim too," Jenny said calmly. "Your father lied to her the same way he eventually lied to me. She's young, pregnant, and alone. What would you have me do? Punish her for being manipulated?" Sarah struggled with it, but eventually came around. Some of the younger kids didn't understand enough to have opinions. The older ones ranged from grudging acceptance to actual compassion. Jake, surprisingly, was the most understanding. "Dad's good at making people believe him," the 13-year-old said quietly. "He made us believe he loved us for years, then he just left. If he can do that to his own kids, he can do it to anyone." Life settled into a new rhythm. Jenny worked alongside Victoria, building an empire of protection and justice for women who'd been failed by systems meant to help them. She raised her 18 children in a home filled with love and stability. She helped Ashley navigate pregnancy and single motherhood, creating an unlikely friendship between women who should have been enemies. And then, 1 year after Robert went to prison, everything changed again. Jenny was working late at the office when Victoria called her into the main conference room. Several men in expensive suits sat around the table, all of them radiating the kind of power that made the air feel heavy. "Jenny," Victoria said, her voice carefully neutral, "I'd like you to meet some associates of mine." The man at the head of the table stood. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with silver threading through his dark hair and eyes that had seen things most people couldn't imagine. He wore power like a second skin. "Mrs. Chambers," he said, his voice deep and commanding, "my name is Dominic. Victoria has told me a great deal about you." Jenny's instincts, honed by years of parenting and months of working in Victoria's world, screamed that this man was dangerous. Not to her necessarily, but dangerous in general. The kind of dangerous that came with money, power, and connections that existed outside the law. "What's this about?" she asked, looking between Victoria and Dominic. "A proposal," Victoria said. "Dominic is expanding his business operations. He needs someone with your specific skill set to manage a new division focused on family services and protection." "I run legitimate businesses," Dominic said, his eyes steady on Jenny. "But I also operate in spaces where the law either doesn't reach or doesn't care. Women and children who need protection from men, the courts won't touch. Families who need resources, the system won't provide. I've heard you understand these situations intimately." Jenny's heart pounded. This was it. The moment she'd known was coming since Victoria first took her in. The moment where she had to decide how deep into this world she was willing to go. "I have 18 children," she said quietly. "Everything I do for them. To give them a better life than the one I had. If I accept whatever you're offering, I need guarantees that they stay safe, that they stay clean of anything that could come back on them." Dominic nodded slowly. "My word that your children will be protected. Always. Anyone who touches them answers to me. And trust me, Mrs. Chambers, people don't want to answer to me." The threat in his voice wasn't directed at her, but it sent chills down her spine anyway. This man had power that Victoria only hinted at. This was real Mafia territory. Real danger, but also real protection, real resources, real ability to change things. "What exactly would I be doing?" Jenny asked. What followed was an explanation of an organization that existed in shadows, helping people the world forgot. Women escaping trafficking, children removed from abusive homes, families needing to disappear from dangerous situations. All of it operated outside legal channels because legal channels moved too slow or didn't move at all. "You'd be the face of it," Victoria explained, "the legitimate front that people interact with. But you'd also be making decisions about who gets help and how. You'd have resources most people can't imagine. Money, property, connections, protection." "And in return," Jenny asked, "your discretion, your dedication, and your humanity," Dominic said. "I don't need someone who'll make emotional decisions. I need someone who'll make right decisions." "Victoria believes you're that person." Jenny looked at Victoria, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "I need to think about it," Jenny said. "Take your time," Dominic replied, standing. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. "When you're ready, call that number. Doesn't matter if it's tomorrow or next month. The offer stands." After they left, Jenny sat alone in the conference room, staring at the business card. Heavy cardstock, embossed lettering, just a name and number. Simple, powerful. She thought about her children, sleeping safe in a home that Victoria provided. She thought about Ashley, getting her life together with resources Jenny helped coordinate. She thought about all the women she'd already helped through Phoenix Rising. She thought about power, not the kind Robert had, the kind that crushed people, but the kind that protected people, the kind that changed lives. She called the number on the card. "I'm in," she said when Dominic answered. "But I have conditions." "Name them." "My children come first, always. If there's ever a choice between an operation and my kids' safety, my kids win." "Agreed. I won't do anything that hurts innocent people. I don't care how much money's involved or how important someone thinks it is." "Agreed. And I want Ashley included. Given a job, a future. She's rebuilding her life and she deserves a real chance." There was a pause. "The girl your husband left you for?" "The girl my husband manipulated and abandoned," Jenny corrected firmly. "She's a victim, not a villain. She gets help or I walk." Dominic laughed, the sound surprisingly warm. "Victoria was right about you. Welcome to the family, Jenny." 3 months later, Jenny stood in front of a mirror in a penthouse suite that was now her office, adjusting her suit jacket and marveling at the woman staring back at her. She was 43 now. Her hair was still thin in places, her face still lined, her body still marked by 18 pregnancies. But something was different. The exhaustion in her eyes had been replaced by confidence. The defeat in her posture had been replaced by power. She ran a division of Dominic's organization that had helped 67 women and their children escape dangerous situations in just 3 months. She'd facilitated the arrest of 12 abusive men who thought they were untouchable. She'd provided housing, jobs, and futures to people who'd had none. Her children were thriving. Sarah was graduating college next month with job offers from 3 major companies. The younger kids were doing well in school, in sports, in life. They knew their mother worked in family services, and that was enough for them. Ashley had her baby, a beautiful girl she named Hope. She was working as an administrative assistant in one of Victoria's companies and was rebuilding her life one day at a time. She and Jenny had coffee every Tuesday, an unlikely friendship born from shared pain and mutual grace. And Robert sat in prison, serving 15 years for his crimes. He wrote letters sometimes, begging for forgiveness, for help, for anything. Jenny never responded. He'd made his choices. Now he lived with them. "Ready?" Victoria appeared in the doorway, dressed for the gala they were attending tonight. It was a fundraiser for a women's shelter, the legitimate face of their less legitimate operations. "Ready," Jenny said. As they walked to the car, Victoria linked her arm through Jenny's. "You know, when I first met you, you were broken, desperate, ready to give up." "I remember," Jenny said quietly. "Look at you now. You're one of the most powerful women in this city. You control resources, make decisions that change lives, and you're raising 18 incredible humans. You're extraordinary, Jenny." Jenny smiled, thinking about the woman she'd been just a year ago, crying in her van, convinced her life was over, convinced she was worthless. "I'm not extraordinary," she said softly. "I'm just someone who refused to stay down when life knocked me flat. And I'm someone who had help from a woman who saw value in me when I couldn't see it in myself." "We all need someone to see us," Victoria said. "Now you see others, and you help them rise." The gala was filled with the city's elite. Politicians, business leaders, old money and new money mixing together in expensive clothes and fake smiles. Jenny moved through the crowd with Victoria, shaking hands, making connections, playing the game. And then she saw him. Dominic stood near the bar, looking devastating in a black tuxedo. He was talking to a city councilwoman, his expression charming and attentive. But when his eyes caught Jenny's across the room, something shifted in his expression. He excused himself and walked over, moving like a predator that knew it owned the room. Mrs. Chambers, he said, taking her hand and pressing a kiss to her knuckles. It was old-fashioned and intimate and sent electricity up her arm. You look stunning tonight. Jenny felt her cheeks heat. Over the past 3 months, she'd been in several meetings with Dominic. Each time she'd felt the pull between them, an attraction that shouldn't exist but did. He was dangerous, powerful, and absolutely not someone she should be interested in. But she was. God help her, she was. Thank you, she managed. You clean up pretty well yourself. He smiled, and it was the genuine one she'd only seen a few times. Dance with me? Before she could think of all the reasons that was a bad idea, he was leading her to the dance floor. His hand settled on her waist, warm and possessive, while the other held hers gently. They moved together like they'd been doing this for years. I've been wanting to talk to you, Dominic said quietly, his voice meant only for her ears. Outside of work context. About what? About the fact that I can't stop thinking about you. His eyes met hers, intense and honest. About how you're the strongest woman I've ever met. About how you walk into rooms full of dangerous men and make them listen to you with nothing but your conviction and your heart. About how you're raising 18 children alone and building an empire and still finding time to help one girl who should have been your enemy. Jenny's breath caught. Dominic, I'm not what you think I am. You're exactly what I think you are, he said firmly. You're a survivor who became a warrior. You're a mother who became a queen. You're everything I've been looking for and didn't think existed. I have 18 children, she whispered. My body's destroyed. I'm older than you. I come with more baggage than anyone should ever have to deal with. I have blood on my hands, he replied softly. I operate in darkness. I make decisions that keep me awake at night. I'm not a good man, Jenny. But you make me want to be better. He pulled her closer. I don't care about your body, your age, or your children. I care about your heart, your strength, your fire. That's what I want, if you'll let me have it. Jenny stared up at this powerful, dangerous man who was looking at her like she hung the moon. After years of being told she was worthless, being looked at with disgust by the man who'd promised to love her forever, here was someone seeing value in exactly who she was. I don't need saving, she said firmly. I already saved myself. Dominic smiled, and it was beautiful. I know. That's why I want you. Not because you need me, but because you don't. You're choosing to stand beside me, not behind me. That's everything. This is insane, Jenny whispered. We barely know each other. Then let's change that. Have dinner with me. Let me take you somewhere with no business, no operations, no agenda. Just you and me, getting to know each other. Jenny knew she should say no, knew she should keep things professional, knew that getting involved with someone in Dominic's world was complicated and potentially dangerous. But she was so tired of saying no to herself, so tired of putting everyone else first, so tired of being responsible and careful and safe. Yes, she said, I'll have dinner with you. His smile was worth every risk. 6 months later, Jenny stood in the backyard of her home, watching her children play while Dominic helped Jake set up a new basketball hoop. She'd been terrified to introduce him to her kids, worried about how they'd react to their mother dating someone, especially someone in Dominic's position. But he'd been patient, kind, and respectful. He never tried to replace their father or act like he had authority over them. He just showed up consistently and treated them with genuine care. Jake, surprisingly, had attached to him immediately. The 13-year-old boy who'd lost faith in father figures found something in Dominic that resonated. Maybe it was the honesty. Dominic never pretended to be something he wasn't. Mom? Sarah appeared beside her, now graduated and working at a tech startup. Can we talk? They walked to the far corner of the yard, away from listening ears. I looked into Dominic, Sarah said quietly, into who he really is, what he really does. Jenny's heart sank. Sarah, I'm not judging, her daughter interrupted. I just want to understand. Is he dangerous? Yes, Jenny said honestly. But not to us, never to us. Do you love him? The question caught Jenny off guard. Did she? She'd been so focused on surviving, on building her new life, on protecting her children, that she hadn't let herself think about love. But when Dominic smiled at her, when he listened to her talk about her day, when he held her at night and made her feel beautiful despite every insecurity, when he played with her children like they mattered to him, when he supported her work and treated her as an equal partner in everything. "Yes," she whispered. "I think I do." Sarah smiled. "Good, because he looks at you like you're the most important thing in the world. And after Dad, you deserve someone who sees your value." She hugged her mother tight. "Just be careful, please." "Always," Jenny promised. That night after the kids were in bed, Jenny and Dominic sat on the back porch with wine and stars and the comfortable silence of people who fit together. "I need to tell you something," Dominic said suddenly. Jenny's stomach dropped. Here it was, the moment where he revealed something that would change everything. "I'm getting out," he said quietly. "Not completely. I'll always have connections. But I'm transitioning to legitimate operations only. Victoria is taking over the darker aspects." "Why?" He turned to face her, taking her hands in his. "Because I want a life with you. A real life, not one where I'm constantly looking over my shoulder or putting you in danger. Because your children deserve someone who can show up to their games and graduations without worrying about being arrested or killed. Because you've shown me that there's more to life than power and control." Tears filled Jenny's eyes. "Dominic, you don't have to change for me." "I'm not changing for you," he said firmly. "I'm changing for me. You just made me want to be someone worth changing into." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Jenny's breath stopped. "I know it's fast," Dominic said, opening the box to reveal a simple, beautiful ring. "I know you have 18 children and a complicated life and 1,000 reasons to say no. But Jenny, I love you. I love your strength, your heart, your fire. I love how you turned pain into power. I love how you raised 18 incredible humans while the world tried to break you. I love everything about you, including the scars and the stretch marks and the gray hair and all the things you think make you less. They make you more. You're everything I never knew I needed." He slid off the chair and knelt in front of her. "Marry me. Let me spend the rest of my life showing you what real love looks like. Let me be a father to your children, not because I'm replacing anyone, but because they deserve someone who will show up for them. Let me build an empire with you, a life with you, a future with you." Jenny looked down at this powerful man kneeling before her, offering her everything. A year and a half ago, she'd been crying in a van, convinced her life was over. Now she was being proposed to by someone who saw value in exactly who she was. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." He slipped the ring on her finger and pulled her into a kiss that felt like coming home. Inside the house, 18 children were sleeping safe and sound. In the city, women who'd been helped by Jenny's work were building new lives. Ashley was tucking baby Hope into bed in an apartment that was safe and warm. Victoria was managing operations that would save countless more. And Jenny, the woman who'd been thrown away like garbage, sat on her back porch wearing an engagement ring from a man who treated her like a queen. Before you go, make sure you hit that subscribe button because stories like this don't come around every day. Drop a like if Jenny's journey inspired you, and comment below telling me where you're watching from and what you think about this incredible transformation. Your engagement helps this channel grow and lets me keep bringing you these powerful stories. The wedding was simple, held in the backyard of their home with close friends and all 18 children present. Jenny wore a dress that Victoria helped her pick out, something elegant that made her feel beautiful. Dominic wore a suit and looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Robert wrote from prison, begging to be invited. Jenny threw the letter away without responding. Her own family didn't come. They'd made their choice years ago when they'd decided having many children made her worthless. But Victoria stood beside her as maid of honor. Ashley was there, holding baby Hope. The children were there, all of them dressed up and beautiful. And that was family. The one you build, not the one you're born into. "I do," Jenny said, her voice steady and sure. "I do," Dominic replied, and his voice held promises she knew he'd keep. When they kissed, her children cheered. It was chaotic and loud and absolutely perfect. Later at the reception, Sarah stood up to give a toast. "A year and a half ago, our mom was broken. Our dad had destroyed her, and she was about to lose everything. But she didn't give up. She fought. She survived. She built a new life for all of us. She turned pain into power, and she taught us that no matter how hard life hits you, you can always get back up. She raised her glass. To Mom and Dominic, may they have the love story she always deserved. Everyone drank to that. As the night wound down and kids started falling asleep in chairs, Dominic pulled Jenny close on the dance floor. "Happy?" he asked. "More than I ever thought possible," she admitted. "A year and a half ago, I was convinced my life was over. I thought being divorced at 42 with 18 children meant I'd never be anything but a burden." "You were never a burden," Dominic said firmly. "You were always a queen. You just needed the right person to see it." "No," Jenny corrected softly. "I needed to see it myself. You just helped." He smiled and kissed her forehead. "Fair enough. So what's next for us?" "World domination?" Jenny suggested with a laugh. "We already help women across the city. Why not expand?" "I love the way you think," Dominic said, "though maybe we should take a honeymoon first." "With 18 kids?" "I have resources," he said with a grin. "Victoria's already volunteered to keep them for 2 weeks. We could go anywhere in the world. Just you and me." Jenny thought about that. 2 weeks with no responsibilities, no schedules, no crisis management. Just her and this man who loved her. "Okay," she said, "let's do it." They went to Italy, to a villa on the coast, where the ocean was blue and the food was incredible. They slept late, made love in the afternoon, and talked about everything and nothing. Dominic told her about his childhood, the choices that led him into his world. Jenny told him about her dreams, the ones she'd abandoned when she'd started having children. "It's not too late," Dominic said one evening as they watched the sunset. "Whatever you wanted to do, whatever dreams you had, we can make them happen." "I wanted to write," Jenny admitted, "stories about women who survive impossible things. But that seems silly now." "It's not silly," Dominic said firmly. "You lived that story. You survived impossible things. Write it. Help other women see that they can survive too." So she did. When they returned home, Jenny started writing. She wrote about women who were thrown away and found their own value. She wrote about survival and strength and the power of refusing to stay down. She wrote under a pen name, protecting her privacy and her children's. Her first book sold 1 million copies. The second sold more. Women wrote to her, sharing their own stories, thanking her for showing them they weren't alone. "You're changing lives," Victoria told her one afternoon. They were having lunch at one of Victoria's restaurants, celebrating the success of Jenny's third book. "Not just through our operations, but through your words." "I'm just telling the truth," Jenny said. "That women are stronger than anyone gives them credit for. That survival is possible. That you can lose everything and still build something beautiful from the ashes." "Speaking of which," Victoria said carefully, "I have something to tell you." Jenny looked up, concerned by her friend's tone. "Robert is dying," Victoria said quietly. "Cancer. He has maybe 6 months." Jenny felt something twist in her chest. Not grief exactly, not happiness either. Just a strange, complicated sadness for the man he could have been, but chose not to be. "Has he asked to see the kids?" she asked. "Through his lawyer, yes." "I'll talk to them," Jenny said. "Let them decide. They're old enough to make that choice." Most of the children chose not to visit. A few of the older ones went once, more out of curiosity than anything else. Jake refused entirely. "He had 20 years to be a dad," the now 14-year-old said. "He chose not to be. I'm not wasting energy on him now." Jenny didn't argue. She'd raised her children to be strong, to know their worth, to refuse to accept less than they deserved. They were just applying those lessons to their father. When Robert died 6 months later, Jenny didn't cry. She stood at his funeral, watching his young fiancé who'd waited for him cry over a casket, and felt nothing but distance. "Are you okay?" Dominic asked quietly, his hand warm in hers. "I'm free," Jenny said simply. "The man who tried to destroy me is gone, and I'm still here, stronger than ever." They left the funeral and went home to their family. To 18 children who were growing into incredible humans. To a life built on survival and strength and love that was real. 5 years after the divorce that was supposed to destroy her, Jenny stood in front of a mirror, getting ready for a charity gala. She was 47 now, and life had carved more lines into her face, more gray into her hair. Her body still bore the marks of 18 pregnancies, would always bear those marks. But when she looked at herself, she saw something different than she had years ago. She saw power. She saw strength. She saw a woman who'd been thrown away and turned it into fuel to build an empire. Behind her, Dominic appeared in the mirror, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Beautiful," he said simply. "Liar," she teased. "I look my age." "You look like a woman who survived everything life threw at her and came out stronger," he corrected. "You look like a queen. My queen." Jenny leaned back against him, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The pain, the fear, the desperation, but also the help from Victoria when she needed it most. The courage to accept that help, the strength to rebuild, the grace to help Ashley, the wisdom to see Dominic's value beneath his dangerous exterior, the determination to write her story and help others. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me when I couldn't see myself, for loving me when I didn't know I was lovable, for choosing me and my children when you could have had anyone. I chose you because you're you," Dominic said simply, "because you're the strongest person I've ever met. Because you taught me that real power isn't in controlling others, it's in protecting them. Because you're everything I never knew I needed." He kissed her neck softly. "Ready to go show the world what real royalty looks like?" "Always," Jenny said. At the gala, Jenny moved through the crowd with confidence. She was now known in the city as a philanthropist, an author, and a business leader. No one knew about the shadow operations she and Victoria managed. No one knew about Dominic's past. They saw only success, power, and grace. "Mrs. Cortez," a woman approached, using Jenny's married name. "I wanted to thank you. I read your book 2 years ago when I was at my lowest. My husband had left me with 5 children and no resources. Your story helped me believe I could survive. I just wanted you to know that I did. I'm surviving. I'm building something new." Jenny took the woman's hands in hers. "You were always strong enough. You just needed to remember it." After the woman left, Victoria appeared beside her. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think you're exactly where you were always meant to be. Not despite what happened to you, but because of it. You took pain and turned it into purpose. That's magic, Jenny." Jenny smiled, looking around the room. At Dominic, talking with business associates. At Ashley, who was now managing several of their operations and raising baby Hope into a confident little girl. At the life she'd built from ashes. "We all have magic in us," she said quietly. "We just have to refuse to let anyone dim it." "Amen to that," Victoria said, raising her glass. "To women who refuse to stay down, to survivors who become queens, to you, my friend." They drank to that, and in the space of a toast celebrated everything that survival meant. Not just enduring, but thriving. Not just surviving, but building something beautiful from the ruins. Jenny had started as a woman with nothing, discarded by the man who'd promised to love her, facing homelessness with 18 children. She'd been called worthless, a breeding machine, a burden. Now she was an author whose books changed lives, a business leader who employed hundreds, a philanthropist who helped countless women escape impossible situations, a wife to a man who treated her like a queen, a mother to 18 incredible humans who were growing into adults who knew their worth. She was proof that being thrown away doesn't mean you're garbage. It just means someone couldn't see your value. And their blindness isn't your burden to carry. She was proof that starting over at 42 is possible, that building from nothing is possible, that survival can become success if you refuse to give up. She was proof that women are stronger than anyone gives them credit for, that motherhood is power, not weakness, that scars are proof you survived, not proof you're damaged. She was proof that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you opens the door to the best thing that could happen to you. As the gala ended and they drove home, Dominic held her hand across the console. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "About how far I've come," Jenny said softly. "About the woman I was in that van, crying because I thought my life was over. If I could go back and tell her what was coming, what would I say? What would you say? Jenny thought about it, about that woman who'd felt so broken, so worthless, so afraid. I'd tell her that this is not the end. This is the beginning. I'd tell her that the pain she's feeling will become her power, that the man who throws her away is doing her a favor by removing himself from her life, that she's about to meet people who will see her value and help her build something incredible. I'd tell her that her children are going to be okay. More than okay. They're going to be extraordinary because they'll learn from her strength. She squeezed Dominic's hand. I'd tell her to hold on, because everything she's ever wanted is just around the corner. She just has to survive long enough to see it. She did survive, Dominic said softly. And look what she built. That night, Jenny stood in the bedroom of the home she shared with Dominic and looked at the framed photo on the dresser. All 18 of her children gathered together last Christmas, smiling and happy and whole. Proof that survival was possible. Proof that love could rebuild what hate destroyed. Proof that family wasn't about blood, it was about choice. She climbed into bed next to her husband, the man who chose her in her complicated life every single day. He pulled her close, and she felt safe in a way she never had before. I love you, she whispered into the darkness. I love you more, he replied. My queen, my warrior, my Jenny. And in that moment, wrapped in arms that would protect her, in a home filled with love, surrounded by children who were proof of her strength, Jenny understood something fundamental. She had never been a breeding machine. She had been a creator of life, a builder of humans, a warrior who'd survived everything and came out stronger. She had never been worthless. She had been priceless, and the right people saw it. She had never been destroyed. She had been forged in fire and emerged as steel. Robert had divorced her thinking he was throwing away garbage, but he'd actually freed a queen who'd been trapped in a cage. And that queen had built an empire. That was the greatest revenge of all. Not hurting him, not destroying him, just living, thriving, succeeding beyond anything he'd ever imagined. Being happy, being powerful, being everything he'd told her she could never be. If you made it to the end of this story, you're the real MVP. Show some love by hitting that subscribe button right now. Smash the like button if Jenny's transformation from broken to powerful inspired you. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what moment hit you the hardest. Your engagement means everything and helps this channel continue to bring you these powerful stories of survival and strength. Until next time, remember that being thrown away doesn't make you garbage. It just means someone couldn't see your value. And their blindness isn't your burden to carry. You're stronger than you know. Keep rising.